You are listening to the 312 Squadron podcast. My name is Nick Sperry.
And I'm Andrew Kuba.
And I'm Andrew Lippins.
This week we are joined live by our subscribers for this live recording here for episode 8, the end of the year finale. Super excited to get into a lot that we have on the docket today. We're going to wrap up a successful year for 312 Squadron. We talk PAX and the man who cannot be stopped, Duncan Howard. We talk about X-Wing gifts we hope to see under the quote-unquote tree this holiday season, and more. So, guys, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. It's been fun getting closer to the holiday season. Feels like December's flying by already.
Yeah, it come and goes very quickly. I almost forgot that PAX was happening this past weekend, and there were a bunch of people there that I knew, and a few that did really, really well. Specifically, Andrew Block.
Yeah,
shout out to my man Andrew, who made final table.
Yeah,
and finished number 2 overall. I think losing only on a direct hit. I think that was the finishing.
It's always that last that last shot, man. That second place can be one of the loneliest places, but it's a testament just to Andrew's playing ability that he even got there in the first place, and that's so wonderful to see. Also, another Andrew and X-Wing. We're always happy to see it for the Andrew Bowl.
Yeah, so I feel like a fraud being a Nick in this trio here. There's two Andrews.
Is that why you feel like
outnumber me 2-1?
You're honorary, Andrew.
I'm a fraudulent guy. What can I say, Pim?
I was gonna say you're an honorary Andrew. I think you can be an honorary Andrew for sure.
Oh, thank you. As long as I'm not Drew, I definitely don't want to lose the Drew
No one
Bowl.
wants to be Drew.
Well, yeah, that's why the Andrew Bowl is so intense.
Yeah, very important.
It is an intense field of matchups for sure. Let's dive into PAX. I mean, another major Worlds Open qualifier. There's only one more left until we hit Worlds in March at Adepticon, and that's at LVO, which Andrew Kuba and I will be at. I don't think Pim will be there. I don't want to speak for you, Pim, but I don't think you're planning on going.
No, I'm traveling to Manchester, England for the Sith Taker Open in February.
Very cool.
And I don't think I can swing LVO, STO, and then Adepticon through months.
Yeah. If you have to pick a couple of those,
it's a lot.
That's a lot.
Thing money grows on trees. Man.
Yeah, no kidding.
Money grows on trees.
That's so cool, though.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm very excited. Not a Worlds, but it's a very, very fun event. Usually gets most of the European community out to it.
That's great.
Very cool. Yeah.
So with PAX, we're not gonna go through Swiss in mighty detail, but I do want to take a look at just kind of the top breakdown here and initial impressions, and then of course we will talk about the top 2 lists and the winner of the event, Duncan Howard. Again, congrats to Duncan, who the plot armor was with him. He went completely undefeated all the way through to the end, which is something that he is privy to do at times. Very, 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 very good X-Wing player. One of the best in the country and in the world. So, yeah. Just looking, I'm curious, guys, your first impressions. Pim, I'll throw it to you first. Just scrolling through these lists. Faction-wise, any pilots standing out to you that maybe are a little bit of a surprise, and then a little bit of same old, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I think the first, I haven't dove into these too much. The first thing I noticed though was so a comment that we had in the Nickel City X-Men discussion channel was not a lot of Hans in top. They were, I think I counted. I went through and counted because I was curious. There were 7 Hans in the event. I believe 2 of them made cut. Or made day 2. Can't remember. The whole day 2 cut thing is always confusing. How to
secondary Swiss.
Yeah, I always feel weird. Like, what do you call that? I guess secondary Swiss is the best thing. But what was interesting to me about that is a lot of the Rebel lists were flying the Fen Rao, Fen, Han, Luke, Keto build, the same-ish build, and Jonathan Grasser was the one who ended up making cut with it and getting the top 4. It was only the top 4 cut, right? Not a top 8?
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Okay.
There's over 70 players I saw, so I would think that they would do a top 8 like a Golden State Games.
I think they cut it. I think it was a cut to a 4.
Was it?
I
Okay.
think it was a
Yeah,
cut
I
to a
mean, we've
four.
Yeah,
seen both now.
because yeah, in the cut it only has 1 through 4.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. So
Well,
he
there you go.
only one Han in the cut, as it were, but in top, I think eight there was only one Han, which is top 16, maybe only one Han, which was Jonathan Grasser flying again that Fen Rao, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker Keo build, and I believe four of the Han list were that, maybe five of them were.
Mm-hmm.
I was just surprised not to see when it comes to Han list, only seeing I think one or two 5-ship lists. And I don't think there was anyone running the Hera, Luke, Bodica, Han that I know popped up a couple times in XTC. That was one of the surprising things for me is which Han was showing up or which Han friends were showing up. And the other one was I think only one triple arc list, which was Jane,
Yeah.
also from Nickel City. I think she was the only one flying the standard Padme, Annie, the
The
Paul
Heaver.
Heaver LSO list, which surprised me
Yeah.
considering I think that one's still pretty strong. I do wonder if these two, the lack of Han, the lack of the arcs, I wonder if or lack of three arcs, anyways. Obviously, Duncan was flying two of them. I wonder if that shows a shift in the meta, not necessarily due to balance, but due to player fatigue, right? Of maybe players
Yeah.
are just tired of playing that list, playing the same thing over and over again. People
Or
have.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I think people figured him out. I think people figured out how to beat Han. People figured
Potentially,
out how to
I
I go
think it
back
is
and
more of the
forth.
fatigue, I would think, but that's
yeah.
just my opinion. Yeah.
I go back and forth on that because I think Han is still. I mean, the Rebel 5 ship was the one that I was kind of I expect to see more of, which is the Han, Luke, Sabine, and then
Mhm.
two I think two 3-pointers at that point, maybe a 3 and a 4. I can't remember what else to fit there. That's the one I expect to see. No, I don't do math. I think it's two threes. That's the one I expect to see when it comes to Han lists. I've only seen one or two of those surprise me. I,
Yeah.
I think that one's the more beatable one that people figured out. The triple arcs I think is still really solid. And I think the burden of execution is very much on the opponent for that list, um, with a few caveats of you need to be able to fly medium base as well, which I know not all of us like. I'll tell you right now, I'm terrible at flying medium bases. I just haven't done it enough. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that one's, even though it's figured out, as you say, I think it's still even if you know how to beat it, I think it's still hard to beat it. If that
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
it's still good. Yeah,
Um,
I don't think I mean the fact that even one's in the top four, um, but I think that it's less of a safe option to take. It's
yeah,
not as guaranteed as it was before.
yeah,
Especially
that's
with
probably fair.
the rise, there's quite a bit of resistance, like the five T70s or the Poe in the YT 1300, which can be a good counter to those Han lists, and then also there's a lot of Empire in here as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah.
And
Empire is rearing its head
yeah,
a little
and the
bit
other
Empire's
a
one
little
gonna
bit
be
more and more.
before we
Always been
yeah,
get
good.
Yes. I would say before we get into Empire too, one thing I noticed was there's a lot of First Order that's also
yeah.
um that made it to the higher, also had a really good win record.
I think FO is being slept on right now by
Yes.
the community at large. I think people, and I think to an extent, it always has been a little slept on.
Hmm.
Um, but there's a lot of variation between FO lists, and I think a lot of them are still really viable.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think an FO list one worlds, right? Wasn't that what
Yep.
Nicholas was flying? I
That was
believe,
Yep.
that was Nicholas Scott. Yeah. They
and
were in
it
FO.
really didn't get hit with any buffs and or nerfs in that points update. The only thing you
Besides like
lost was skill
shield
upgrade.
upgrades, I think being
Yeah,
yeah,
I
being
mean,
and
that's really what it was,
elusives.
all loadout points though. Yeah.
but it was just
His
like two
elusive
ships.
rolls, dude, were so good. His elusive
I know.
rerolls, I will never
Hmm.
forget how many conversions he got at his elusive rerolls. It was
Like
like
sometimes
I
you got
want
to
to
get
say like
lucky.
70%. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I think that's, yeah, any tournament's just always a little bit of luck.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you just
For
got to put
being a
yourself
world
in a
champion.
position
Oh,
to
to,
put yourself in a position to really capitalize
yeah,
on it. But
absolutely.
anyways, moral of the story is I think FO is still really strong. I think it was strong before the points update. I think it was strong after the points update, and I think
Hmm.
people. I think as we get closer to Worlds, you're going to see that more often now. I think it does counter some of the Republic stuff well, and can counter some of the Rebel stuff. Um, I think it also counters the Resistance stuff pretty well too. I think a lot of like
Yes.
Zori and who's showing up a lot. I think those T70s don't love Jam either. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do there.
Yeah, I mean, Jam is strong. It's great at the objectives.
Yeah.
Any of the Kylo builds can produce crits really well. I agree. It's a slept
Some
on
of those Kylo
faction.
silencer builds are absolutely disgusting too. If you look at
Yes.
what he can fit, I was joking the other night, and you
I
can fit
mean,
outmaneuver plasma torpedoes and mag pulse in the same ship.
B Freeman is number 4. Was had Kylo with uh is this yeah, brilliant evasion, instinctive aim, concussion missiles, advanced optics, and the of course the jamming
I
suite.
always
So
associate
I
that
was
build with Crispy a lot because I feel like he
Yeah.
was flying that a lot as Wilo was becoming more popular. The instinctive aim optics missile Kylo. I think he switched at some point, but that's the one
yeah,
I
it's
associate that as
strong,
like a
man.
Crispy build
Optics
a
is
lot.
really good on a Force user.
Yeah.
We Nick and I saw that work with Doug
Yeah.
Howe at the Miniature Mart Store
Yeah.
Championship.
Yeah. Andrew and I had some frustrating games. I brought Scum, and I got the Scum experience. I went like 1-3, but I lost
I
2
think
games by 2 points, so I wasn't really
I
that.
was
I didn't think it was like a lost cause thing. It just
obviously
bad luck.
Scum's in a really bad spot as you're not seeing them
Yeah,
pop up here until God, I'm scrolling still. 36th.
yeah,
Um,
that's rough.
but the thing about the scum list that always surprised me is like the ones that are doing well consistently uh, for defining well, right? The best scum lists right now are like multiple fang lists, which really
hmm
surprises me. It's not like it's not the big beefy, large base ships, which you come to expect from scum, but like
yeah.
these fang fighters right now, I think they require again talking about a list that requires a lot of skill to fly well. Those fangs die really fast if you're not
Yes.
careful.
Yeah.
But if you can fly them well, you can do some work with them.
I will
So
say
it's just an interesting one.
Fen Rao is like I don't think we ever doubted his ability when he was 7, just because list building was so bad and still is kind of bad for Scum. He wasn't played much. Now
Yeah.
he's played more because he's 6, and
hmm
I gotta say I was really impressed with the capabilities in the way that he kind of shakes up people's strategies when it comes to playing the objective and having to worry about leaving yourself out to dry or scrambling and then
Yeah.
taking a range one shot with no defensive mods and getting one shot at. But yeah, with Mandalorian optics and Beskar, especially Beskar, I think he's as threatening as he is difficult to kill, just that much more
hmm
difficult. And you can throw a shield upgrade on him as well, which helps. I didn't run him with that, but
I've seen some
if you want
burners
the
builds that I
assurance,
like quite a bit too. Just giving them access to that double reposition, I think is very good when you only have 4 health. But
Yeah.
there's certainly a lot you can do with them.
yeah, I was I actually liked the list that I brought. I thought it was decent. I had a good mixture of initiatives, coordinating abilities, jamming. I loved what C4 was able to do into like playing him in 2.5. He's a great piece at 3 points. Like
Yeah.
his mitigation to jamming off people's mods. I put enduring on him to just make it even harder to knock a crate off of him, and it works. Like it actually helped. And I was still having fun, but I could tell that I was like one dice roll away from being outmatched and not being able to come back. Whereas I think some other lists and other factions have a little bit more grace in the right hands. Scum doesn't afford you that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, like playing Dace Bone Arm in a Hawk. It's
Yeah.
like great, you got Dace, Moldy Crow, cool, but you're 5 whole I4 or 5 hit points I4, right? It's like
hmm
Yeah. In this new meta where it's very firepower heavy, you can lose that race very fast.
yeah, exactly. So sorry, back to back to PAX. Just to chime in terms of what I'm seeing. I think I am officially going to put the flag down and say we are in a rack meta right now. We have entered the rack meta that Empire is, even though it was popular and has been good for quite some time, there is another variant of viable Empire lists out there that feature Rear Admiral Chirnu, that I5 Decimator, often featuring Darth Vader crew to take away your mods or to deal damage that you can't negate, you can't stop. That threat is ridiculous. We'll talk about Vader crew later, but I was thinking, can I build a list with Vader and Rack, Vader
Yeah.
pilot?
Oh
And
yeah.
Chambly did do it.
Absolutely.
Chambly,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
only thing is, like, does the list how much of the list needs Darth Vader crew to get you over that hump that these great players are getting over, including Block? I guess Chambly proved that you don't have to have Vader crew on your Rear Admiral Chirrut to do well. I was just when I'm list building, I'm like, can I run Vader next to Rack right now? Is that like a good idea, or do I need him for the crew? Seriously, you
Do
don't.
you know which Vader pilot he was running? Was it standard or
Battle of
void?
Yavin,
Yeah.
I
Okay,
believe.
cool.
I
Awesome to
believe
know.
so. Does it say starter set?
It just I'm looking at the results. It just says Vader.
which one is this?
Number
Chambly,
seven,
Chambalaya,
Chambalaya.
Chambalaya. Just
Oh,
his Vader name.
yeah. So then that would be the Battle Yavin Vader.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Battle of Yavin Vader, I know in the Nickel City X-Wing Discord, we're having some back and forth about his value and his flexibility versus Starter Set Vader. It's clear that Battle of Yavin Vader has and is still extremely meta viable. I just think the dynamic of all the Vaders has been shaken up because we have another Vader that lets you do a lot as well with the action economy. Just depends on what kind of Vader you want. If you don't just
Yeah,
want to go for pure kill, 4 hits every time, 3 hits every time, Balviam Vader, certainly probably a better bet.
Empire is really interesting to me because it's a faction that I think early on in this points update was singled out as one of the more powerful ones.
it's been that
And
way. I
then they
think.
kind of drop for people don't talk about them that much. And now they're kind of
Yeah,
going back to them again. Um, but the bombers are obviously very good. That even before the standard loadout ones came out, afterwards they're still very good. Um,
I
the
think.
SL standard loadout ones and the custom ones, Vader's obviously great. Rack, of course, is really a monster right now.
Yeah, and I'd say since the 2.5 change, I think Empire has always been in that like top three faction conversation,
Well, I
and
think historically they've always been there too.
that's
If
true.
you go back
Yeah,
to the dawn of the game, they've always been one of the more
Yeah.
powerful game or
They've done a good job
powerful
of keeping
factions.
Empire consistently meta viable. I will
yeah,
say
Admittedly, for the first what
before
5 or 6 years, there's only three
yeah,
factions. There's only two and then
that's
three,
well,
but
that's
hmm
true. But
still.
they've kept them consistently not
But yeah,
last, I guess is what I mean to say by
I think
that.
they were. Yeah, they've always
Ooh.
been extremely good.
Yeah.
So
Um,
can we fix Scum by having them just join the Empire again, like in
no,
1.0?
that's a cop out.
No, they got to be there. Yeah, I know. I was kidding.
So before we go into blocks and Howard's list,
Yeah,
I wanted to point out that one of the reasons why I've gravitated to Empire this meta cycle is because I feel like there is the most variety of the factions that I like to play in Empire. That I feel like I can take not only to the game store but to a tournament and win a few games minimum with. I don't feel that way with Republic, with Rebels. Not to say that necessarily that's a fact, but I do know that you can look at the interceptors, you can look at the decimators, you can look at the TIE advanced X1s, you can look at TIE fighters like the boys, you can look at all these the Reapers. Anything that's standard legal in Empire, maybe not the heavy right now, but anything else,
Yeah,
even strikers, you can build a good list with. The bombers, obviously, right?
hmm
Countdown's been seeing some play and it's pretty effective as a little objective runner.
Yeah, countdown. And then
I was
is
gonna say
countdown the one
even
you stress to cancel results?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say even in like looking at packs too. Chris Apple is running Grand Inquisitor, so
Yeah.
with Vader, and came in 14th. Like we're seeing a lot of variety with these lists as
Fifth brother
well.
is in a the
Fifth
list in
brother,
20th. Yeah.
yep, yeah. So it's not just we're just seeing one way to build Empire. Even 23rd, Vader, Vault Scaris, and then Captain
Yeah.
Faroff
Well, Sebwall was
in the
flying
Reaper. Yeah.
Rex Labrath and Juke and Barrage.
Yep.
Um,
So
Sebwall
yeah,
is obviously a very
there's
good player, known around the Nickel City Discord, but he's been making the defender work pretty well too, which we haven't seen many defenders outside of Vader in the past. I don't know since Skystrike came out, really.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's one of
and
the
it's surprising.
him
It's a
and
really good
Boba at 9.
chassis. It's a lot of points, but it's a phenomenal ship.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite just to fly.
I
Yeah.
think 7 points
It-
for X Link's more than fair, to be honest.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Absolutely.
in a world where you can do so much with 9 points right now, consolidating it to one ship despite the power ability is just an extraordinarily difficult task. I think
So to your point
people aren't
too
even
about
trusting it.
Rebels being less diverse right now than other factions, or at least other than Empire, as you were saying, is why you've kind of gone to Empire. I actually think Rebels are pretty diverse and have a lot of options right now. I think the problem is Han is so efficient that it
Hmm.
feels like
It
it
does
feels
start with
wrong to
Han,
not take
right?
him. Yeah,
It
it just feels
starts
wrong.
with Han.
That
Yeah.
right, exactly.
But like
You're not wrong. You're not wrong when you say
I
that.
personally have had I personally do a lot better with Rebels when I just don't take Han. I don't know, something about Han's gameplay I just don't enjoy right now, but
I
it's one of
will
those things. But
say,
I have that nagging feeling though of like you should just take Han.
yeah. I was just gonna say that in the hands of somebody who's inexperienced, um, it is hard to win with Han and keep him alive and know what you're doing. And the obstacle placement can also thwart
Hmm.
him as well, even
Oh yeah,
when there's a good player using him, right? So yeah, I mean,
it's
there's
one of the
still
turns. It's a lot
drawbacks.
of turn zero plan and pathing in turn zero.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Let's take a look at the main two lists here that met each other at final table. Uh,
Yeah.
I'll uh,
And
I'll do
They met each
Velvet
other in
Buddha.
day two of Swiss as well. That was like the first matchup of that day for both of them.
Oh gosh, yeah, Revenge of
Oof.
the Swiss opportunity for Velvet Buddha, who did bring a rack list. Saw this version of this list at Crossroads. He did tweak it a bit. So Buddha brought Rear Admiral Chirnu with Death Troopers, Darth Vader crew, Agile Gunner, Ruthless, Dauntless, and Electronic Baffle. Then he has the Bomber Pack, standardized Tomax Bren, which, as most of you guys know, has got the plasma torpedoes, the ion bombs, and the opportunity to every other turn after he does a barrel roll, he can gain a focus token, which allows him to link. He can then link the barrel roll into a lock or double modded plasmas, which is pretty good. Or you could just barrel roll to get the focus. Still very strong. Deathfire, another. I believe this is the death. Yeah, this is the Deathfire that also is
Yeah,
standardized.
it's
I
the
don't.
trajectory simulator one.
Yeah, trajectory simulator one. He gets to basically after he does a 3 to 5, he just
Yep,
launches.
or drops
Yeah, or
Yep.
drops. Yeah,
Drops or
with the
launches, but
speed 3.
yeah, it's really strong. Major Rhymer in the bomber as well. This is the third bomber in the list with the classic Sat Salvo barrage rocket combination and ion bombs, and then Faroff with 000 and Ruthless. So there's some coordinating ability in that Reaper and 000. You can get that calculate if you get close. You can threaten people with stress, and then Ruthless to convert your attacks, keep yourself consistent. Great
and then
five ship
if
list.
yeah, if they're close enough to rack with those death troopers, potentially keep it.
I can't believe all that fits in a list.
Yeah.
Truthfully,
It's blows my mind how it's. I mean, I experienced it at Miniature Market. I was like, never
yeah.
getting an action again.
Oh, I hate Death Troop. Death Troopers are brutal.
Hmm.
Well, combo with
Removes
Vader
your
and
agency.
crew is
Yeah,
ridiculous because it's like, hey, there's no way you can get a green token and take the damage. Yeah, I mean, simply put, this list is has a ton of health, has high initiative, has bombs, has a lot of different threats that you can only play against and strategize against so many of those things at once.
it's actually got. You say high initiative, but it's only got. I mean, this is gonna sound ridiculous, but it's only got two I5s.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
in the today's list building world, right? You usually have at least an I6, an I5, maybe a couple I5s. Then nothing really under three, but you've got two
two
fives, a
threes.
four, three, and a two.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you've
This
got
is
a whole
Oh,
range here.
Deathfire's
It's
a two,
actually
not a three, huh?
yeah,
yep, just a two.
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, it gives you. I think that gives you a lot of options where I think now you're almost guaranteed to be first player in a lot of matchups with Deathfire. Right, you're almost guaranteed to go first with him, which I think brings back blocking in a really good way. Because I know people argue about blocking's dead, but it's really not. I mean, it's still a very important thing where you can cause the conga line bumps in your opponents or force stress when you've got death troopers, or even alternatively just body block from an objective action. Right? I mean,
Also, when you got bombs with it too,
yeah,
blocking and bombs is a great combination.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that helps this list a lot. Between Faroff and Deathfire, there's two pretty low initiative blockers that can get in and create some havoc pretty easily, which I think really helps with Rack staying alive and
Yeah.
being kind of a, being allowing him to just do whatever he wants with that reinforced ruthless, just start churning damage out.
Yeah, no, definitely. Andrew, Cuba. Why don't
Yes.
you take Duncan Howard's list if you don't mind reading that one out? A four ship Republic list.
Yeah. So Duncan was flying Anakin Skywalker with Predator RP-17 and shield upgrade,
7B
and
Annie.
in the
Who
70,
cares?
yeah. And then Addy Galia is carbureted, calibrated laser targeting, C110P, and debris gambit, getting those evades near obstacles. And then Oddball, which is the Siege of Coruscant version. And then Wolf, and this looks like the build yourself with veteran
It
tail
is.
gunner, R4P astromech, and expert handling, getting to get those barrel rolls.
Yeah,
So,
you lose Born for this, and you
mhm.
trade out Q7 for R4P, which is a easy upgrade, and you lose
Yeah,
Wolfpack too. But like Wolfpack, when you don't have Jag around, isn't as good because that's the one that lets you spend locks of other ships with Born for this or Plo Koon. But when you don't have Jag around to generate infinite locks for you, it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this list is a lot of heavy lifting for the Jedi, just in terms of it's a four ship list with 2-1 agility,
Hmm.
middle initiative, and oddball obviously is in there, but
I mean those arcs are good, but they're also vulnerable.
Hmm.
So yeah, that is there's a lot of definitely a skill element to being able to fly two arcs like that and keep them alive. But
Yeah,
really good Jedi for any sort of flanking maneuvers.
yeah. You
I
put both
I
of those
believe
Jedi on the flank, and
Adigalia
you can just crush it.
Adigalia has the Inquisitor ability, right? Like it's
The
similar.
reverse Grand Inquisitor. It's
Yeah.
deny the range bonus at 1 and then deny it at 3, right? Yeah. Where Grand
Yep.
Inquisitors apply the range bonus on
Yeah.
defense and apply it on
Defenders cannot
offense.
apply
Yeah.
the range bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She's got basically the inverse of that.
I
It's
thought
a
so.
more
The
defensive
Inquisitor
thing.
can apply the range 1 bonus at range 3, and then deny the range bonus when defending at range 1. Was is
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she can deny the range 1 bonus when she's defending, and she can
Yes.
deny the range 3 bonus when she's attacking.
got
For
it,
the
got it.
defender.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
so it's pure denial. It's not all okay.
It's not
Correct.
ad.
Pure
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
denial. Got it. Yeah,
She's affecting
Adigalia is
your
good.
dice. Inquisitor affects his dice, I guess. Kind of.
I feel like when Adigalia came out, she just kind of like came and went. Like people played her a little bit, but I think she's always been good. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Jedi are in
I
a
think
weird spot in terms of all of the Jedi in list
yeah.
building right now in the meta. Like, there's a
Well, the
lot to
key
just
thing with
keep
Audie
up
is
with.
she's got the most loadout of. I guess Plo has more, but her ability is a little more useful than Plo. Um,
Hmm.
but she's got more loadout than Obi Wan, and I think that's kind of the key is why you take her over that. Because I think the same slots. Actually, I think Obi Wan has double modification. I'm gonna look that up. Yeah, they've got the same ish slots. Obi Wan's got a second Force talent, and a talent and a regular talent, but Audie's ability is sneaky and really good at trying to keep herself alive when you've got both of these Jedi on the flank, right? And you've got these two arcs coming up the middle, forcing your opponent to choose what they're going to go after, and then reacting based on that. This is definitely one of the more aggressive lists where I think I didn't watch any of his games. It wasn't streamed, so I can't speak to how Duncan flew it. But from what I've heard, you're not you don't have the most flexibility with objectives with this list, right? Like the other 5 or 6 ship republic, right, where you can send slider off or whatever to pick up a crate and then not care for the rest of the game. So it's definitely an aggressive list that can pounce pretty easily if you're not careful. With Chopper and CLT on 80, she can hit pretty hard even though she's only got that two die primary, right? She can jam you, she can get that bullseye. Um,
Yeah, that's a lot of denial that
yeah.
that Adigalia is able to produce.
Yep.
Yeah, Duncan is good at building lists that are just off meta enough that when you put it together on your squad builder, you'd say no chance, and he makes it happen.
He
It's like,
and it's something that another player in Nickel City was talking about too. They've talked to, Duncan's a local. They talked to him about this before, about Duncan likes to go off meta just to give his opponents more of a challenge, right? You haven't seen this before. You have to kind of adapt to it on the fly a little more, which there's something to be said about that. I think
I like it.
I think Buddha's list does that as well, because I think
Hmm.
Fair Off is not something that people are used to seeing right now. I think Deathfire is still. I think he's catching on, but
Yes.
he's not as common as like Jonas and Reimer are. I know he's got Reimer in there too. Um, but I think Jonas, Tomax, Reimer are still like the three you expect to see.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, just
so
because I think
there's yeah,
yeah, people are just trying to. I think before people were going for that high initiative, but I think Deathfire is just powerful enough on its own that we're just going to
yeah,
start seeing a lot of Deathfire, or
yeah,
more
absolutely.
often for sure.
But both of these lists to me strike me as they've, like you said, they're just off meta enough to still be viable,
Hmm.
but also give your opponent at least some kind of hesitation when they're facing it or something they're not used to seeing, which is definitely a valuable skill.
Yeah, it's a departure from what we've been seeing for sure.
You probably wouldn't practice against either of these lists before this event, right? If you're
Yeah,
practicing for the event, you're looking at the meta, you're probably not take playing against either of these lists verbatim at least.
yeah. I think I will say that I was surprised at Gen Con to see Duncan playing three T70s and Poe. It's not like it was the most like meta thing, but like of the resistance lists, that was one that I've seen a few times, and
Yeah.
Joel won our
I
sword champ
think
with
he
it.
won a store champ with it in the summer, because that was a list that I know. I remember Dom was also flying that. Dominic, I've lost
Flanagan.
his name. Yeah, thank you. Dominic Flanagan from Ireland was also flying that at the same time, and both very good players.
Hmm. I was gonna say
That
I saw a
I think
lot of that
was
at Gen Con too. That list.
Yeah, I think that's a list that's a little. And it's I think that list has a lot. Or I always get confused when we talk about ceiling and floor. I think that's a list that has a lot of potential. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's a very high. You can achieve a very high level of success with it, but I think the floor for it and the barrier to entry with it is a little bit higher than most of the 5 ship resistance lists we're seeing right now.
It's got a high
Just that
ceiling,
extra
low floor.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That extra body, just losing that extra body means you've got to be a lot more careful with your G70s and also know when to go for objectives, know when you can dive and try to kill, which it can do
Hmm.
well. It's a fun list. I've flown it a couple times, um, but it's very fun. Poe Falcon's right now a crazy fun ship to fly.
yeah.
Yep.
Before we move on from PAX, I do want to go circle back to Vader really quick, and I
Sure.
want to ask both of you, what are your thoughts on Vader's power level right now? For those at home who maybe need a reminder as to what Vader does at the start of the engagement phase, you may spend one force and choose an enemy ship at range 0 to 2. If you do, that ship either removes a green token or suffers 1 damage. So obviously, paired with Death Troopers, can accommodate a lot more damage if they can't clear the stress and they're nearby rack or any decimator carrying. Or actually, I think rack is the one that can do both. Anyways,
Yeah.
what are your guys' thoughts on the play experience dealing with Vader? Do you think maybe there should be some level of tweak, whether it be points or an errata, or do you think
Uh,
he is 100% totally fine the way he is at 12 points, I
12.
think?
He's at 12.
12 points. At
And
12.
I think he's fine at 12. There's not a lot of ships that can take him. If you take him as crew, you can't take him as a ship. Um, uh, I think that's good enough, and his ability is very good. It does give some agency to the player, and I while it's good combined with Death Troopers on rack, I don't think that it's at a point where I don't feel like it spoils anything right now.
I saw that smirk, Pim. You smirked pretty hard there.
I disagree
But whatever.
strongly with that statement.
Okay.
I disagree
Go for
strongly
it.
with it. I
Yeah.
think it because I think let me split it up. I think that I don't know if he's not fine at 12. I don't know if I can speak to that. I've always hated him as a crew. I think anything that does auto damage in this game is very powerful and always has been. And I think something with perfect information auto damage like that is a really tricky thing to balance well, to say the least. The thing I really disagree with Andrew on is the agency thing. I think he removes a lot of agency from the game, and I think that's why he's a problem for a lot of players, at least when
Yeah,
combined with Death Troopers. I think that obviously there's ways to mitigate it with if you have a green token, you've got a choice. But I think something like Death Troopers being around in the same ship creates this. It, I don't want to. I don't want to be the guy who just comes and lambasts the thing he hates, because I do despise that build for a lot of reasons. But I think maybe my feelings with this, as I explain it, I think maybe my feelings are more skewed towards Death Troopers than Vader itself. Maybe
yeah.
both of them in a vacuum, I think, are okay. I think it's combined is when the real issue arises. Both are really irritating to deal with, and they remove your agency in certain ways. Because while you still have the choice to remove the green token or take the damage, you're still losing your mod. So you're effectively losing your action, right? If you're not careful.
Hmm.
And with Rack being I5, he's got usually a pretty good chance of knowing where you will be. And with the side to side turret, it's hard to say just don't be in his turret arc, right? Like that's not the easiest thing to accomplish when he's I5
And
and he's
agile
got the
gunner too.
yeah.
Yeah,
But he's got this big wide turret, so it's hard to say don't be that close to him, which is obviously the ideal. But with large base, he wants to kind of ram himself in there.
they have a white force straight, man. They can move.
Hmm.
Those things
They are
move.
quick. They don't turn the
Yeah,
greatest, but they're quick at going straight at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean a white four straight's what like a six straight on a large base, so it's yeah. I mean it's that's a range three, maybe. I think range three
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah,
seven
yeah.
that's
bases.
yeah.
Can't remember.
From
It's
back to
Anyways,
front of the base. Yeah,
more of the story is I think I think it's the combination of all three things where the problem arises right now. I think on their own, they both involve removing agency. So when you're stacking them on top of each other, it becomes more of an issue that I think needs to be addressed, but I don't know how. Um,
I
because
have some ideas, but
I don't
yeah,
necessarily think they need to get nerfed either. I don't like again because I think it's on their own. I don't think they're as bad, but I'm sure people are gonna roast me for that take. But
I mean,
whatever.
yeah, I mean,
it's not
it's
unreasonable.
the new rules with bumping, and I think makes Death Troopers like a lot better. But I'm I I mean, there's not. I mean, I think Rack is one of the only ships that can even take that combo,
I think all
and
the Desis can, but
all of the
Rag is just the best because he's I
And
5. He's
it's the
got
crew
that.
slots, Pim. There's no 3 crew slots on
right.
the
I
others.
think Morna does have three.
Or
I'm
maybe
actually.
there's one more, one other choice like Morna, but
Morna
yeah,
can take
we'll
two
double check.
crew, but has 22
Only
crew
Morna, yeah.
loadout. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just Rag
so
then.
that
Yeah.
combo does take 3.
I think just
So
remove one of the crew from Rag.
yeah, my ideas are so I had a couple. There's one that I've heard I'm gonna give Greg Cash the shout out for this one is just an errata of 0 to 1 instead of 0 to 2. 0 to 2 from a large base is pretty far still.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go back and forth on that one. I think 0 to 1, it it's still good and they still move fast, but it doesn't. It's not a sort of combo with Death Troopers where it's like super terrifying like it is right now
Yeah.
with 0 to 2. Because there's 0 to 1 band you can't clear the stress, and then even at 0 to 2 you can still be taking the auto damage. So you have to be
Yeah.
far away from the Desi. You might be running away from it. It's hard to range control when they have perfect information large base and you have to move towards it to clear your stress and you can't clear it once you get close enough. So the other thing that I personally believe, and this is some confirmation anecdotal bias, I was at this miniature market event. I had Fen Rao go head to head with Rack for a kill, and if it was there was an errata where it wasn't start of the engagement phase but before you engage,
Mhm.
maybe it changes the dynamic of like the damage that goes through on Rack. He can get initiative killed at initiative 6, which isn't going to happen very often, but it's possible. I don't really think that that's going to move the needle very much. I just think it maybe is interesting because maybe if you're second player at I5, it shifts things a little bit. Do you need that force for another purpose? maybe, probably not, but maybe. I don't
I don't
know.
hate
That
that
was my
change at
idea.
all. I think that's a decent change because I think then it also gives other I5s a chance to return fire, um, which, as silly as it sounds, at least gives you, when we're talking about something like this where it's an agency issue, right? You want to make sure you're not taking too much control out of a player's hands, because then it feels useless, right? Anything I do is useless. Anything I do is frivolous. I'm wasting my time. This sucks. Um, Start it before you engage. At least gives you some sort of like, okay, I'm still screwed, but I have a consolation prize of a shot, right? And that's, at least psychologically, gives you something more than just, well, this game sucks. I hate this. I'm just being punished unfairly.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
think that if I were to predict changes, that this would be one that would be actually addressed, slot wise or points wise or something. That they would do something
yeah,
with
maybe,
this.
but I don't know. I'm still thinking though that it's on a decimator. It can still be a very fragile ship, and also, I mean, I'm not sure how often it's happening where
I don't know
it's
if
your last
fragile's ever
point
the
of
word to
damage.
describe a decimator with a
16
reinforce.
health
I mean,
reinforce.
60, yeah, it's good, but I mean,
Yeah.
they're only with the four shields. I mean, they're not
There's
indestructible.
ways to
They're
kill it. It's
yeah,
definitely killable. I'm not, yeah, it's not,
Yeah, that's I guess
we're
besides the
not
point
talking
in this case.
unbeatable. It's just, does it, I think the question for me is it fun to play against? And I don't think everything in the game needs to be fun to play against, but then the question becomes, is it too oppressive to
Or
play
how
against?
unfun is it, right? Is it how
Yeah.
unfun or negative the play experience is.
And this is when it just becomes
yeah,
opinion. You know.
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Well, we all have the beautiful thing about discussion, especially on this podcast, is we all have different ideas and different opinions.
that's right.
Um, I
Ban
guess I
rack,
wouldn't be
just
surprised
delete
either
them.
way if they do nothing or if they change something. So,
I
um,
wouldn't. I'm not gonna be that pessimistic. Never mind. Continue on.
I
Yeah.
do I do want to really quickly kind of call out this podcast really quick as we kind of move on from PAX and everything that we've been able to do with the channel with 312. For those of you that maybe aren't aware, we hit a pretty big growth spurt the last year in terms of our capabilities and our what we've been able to do, not just streaming at home, streaming more often, streaming in person, having our podcast. Andrew, of course, thank you again for producing this and
Yeah.
being a huge help in taking that off my plate, because it is we do a lot behind the scenes, and even though we're not streaming 4 or 5 times a week as much as I'd like to, which we will stream more in the future, there's a lot to be said about where we started versus where we are now. This is the eighth episode already of this podcast, and we've had some great feedback, a good reception so far from people who have tuned in and listened. And I hope to do this with you guys a lot more moving forward, and that's the
Yeah,
plan.
same.
Yeah, we've got big plans though for 2024. I just wanted to let
That's
you all
right.
know and tease some things. We streamed 8 in-person events, including my role in helping Gold Squadron for a couple. That is a lot of in-person coverage
Yeah.
for local events, and as big as Crossroads, which was a big 2-day event, about 50 people playing at that one. And we're planning to do even more of that in 2024. I know, Pim, you kind of tried to snopes me on this, but I am confident in saying that of the events featuring a World's Invite in the Store Champ kit, we have streamed the most individual
I just want
events.
to see a fact check. Just show me the facts.
So I am more than happy for somebody to say that's not true. There are a lot of great X-Wing streams out there, but streaming in person is a task, and there's also not that many X-Wing events happening at your local game store in your area to be able to stream as many times as we have been fortunate enough to do. So, and it wouldn't be possible without everybody getting us to where we are. The big
Yeah.
fundraiser we had to get the in-person equipment that we needed for commentary, that's been a huge success. Everybody that's joined me for the commentary has been great. We've had so much fun, and we're really proud of the quality and the standards that I think we've set as we kind of break on into this world of streaming X-Wing 2.5, leading up to Worlds and beyond. So, just wanted to thank you guys. In terms of financially, this is something that is worth bringing up. If I'm not going to go long-winded here, but money through Twitch half of it is taken away from us. It's just the way it is. We've never done this to make money though. So I really want to preface that this isn't an endeavor to make any sort of money. It is an endeavor now to just make sure we don't lose a lot of money. So we will be starting a unique low tier Patreon in 2024 that will feature rewards, discounts on entry for online leagues and in person events, and more. We'll talk about that later on. But I just want to let you guys know that we will put in a little bit more effort to give you guys more while also trying to put some amount of money back into the stream.
Yeah.
Even if it just pays for gas to Indianapolis or something like that, it's really helpful. So,
Yeah.
Nick, when did you
yeah,
start when did you start 312? 312 Squadron
the
streaming anyways.
312, the 312
312.
squadron.
Yeah, 312.
The 31-2 squadron.
The
Yeah,
31 2
312.
squadron.
Yeah.
This was actually 2019. We started streaming
2019.
in person. Yeah,
So
just
started
before
streaming in
COVID.
person, then doing online, then growing it, and doing a really great job growing it and providing great commentary and doing plenty of in person, like you
Great.
said.
I don't know about great.
Really incredible growth, all to become a cash grab at year 5.
It's all
I
about the
applaud you.
dude. Ever since we went public, man, it's for the shareholders, dude. It's always
Yeah.
for the
Yeah, the
shareholders.
shareholders. So you, Kuva, and I assume Manny, you got to pay for that
Yeah.
hot tub addiction somehow. I mean,
Yeah.
More
The
more
beach
Lego
addiction for
addiction. Yeah.
Manny. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking at that behind me. Don't worry. The Patreon money will not. I don't have room for any more Lego. So if you're worried about a scandal of me using the
No.
money for Lego, I don't have room for Lego anymore, guys. So
It's
we'll be good
that's
in
honestly,
a
that
you
moot.
regard.
can you can blame the oil companies. The gas prices have gone up, and just the time and energy it just takes to set up
Yeah,
for tournaments, and take a weekend out for travel and finding lodging and everything like that too. Not to
Yeah.
mention, for the quality stream, that means that Nick has had to buy some pretty pricey equipment already.
Yeah, you don't want to know how much money that laptop cost me, but it's worth it because we run a stream without lag and without any serious issues, which is the
Yeah,
fundamental goal
and
of what
and you
we
can
do.
do that. Yeah, like anywhere in any store, no matter what setup they have internet wise. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Lastly, I did float online leagues. Those will be returning. Every few months we'll be doing something new and creative. Coming up in January, there will be a team league. It's very different from the draft league. It'll be teams of 3, all playing against each other in the same division or whatever you want to call it. And then we'll have a top cut of the teams playing against each other. So that'll be people put together their own teams. It'll be a lot of fun. Excited to do that. We'll stay tuned for more information. We'll be posting about that on Facebook and in our Discord. So that will be coming up
yeah,
not too far from now.
can't wait to see you there.
Yeah. All right, guys. Our main topic today. We've had a lot of main topics, but we'll just it's the holiday season. The holidays are upon us. So if you had to pick one gift you want to see AMG Claus bring you this holiday season, what would that gift be? You have to isolate it to one. So think hard.
does
What
it
is something that you would
anything?
really love? Specific
Anything?
to X-Wing, I would
Sure.
say. Yes,
Or like
anything. Go
anything
for it.
X-Wing related.
Yeah.
Okay. I know mine. Andrew, do you know yours?
Yes,
Go for it.
I would like to see the Lambda reintroduced into standard.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Noble. Classic ship. Got one right here.
Ooh.
A visual aid for our viewers. In case you
Oh
don't
yeah.
know what a lambda is.
There it is. That is a
And if
lambda.
you're on the
Space cow.
podcast, you can imagine it in your mind.
Is
Yeah.
yeah, permission to
It's
land like a dainty butterfly? Permission granted. That's
Beautiful space
nice.
cow.
That's nice.
Here's what my request is. My request is more involved than that. I would like the Resistance ITS transport to be added to this game. This is my favorite ship, currently not in the game. I love it to death. It is like a mini blockade runner. It's about the size of a U-wing. It's got kind of U-wingy engines going on with it. It almost
Yeah.
exclusively appears at the Disney ride Rise of the Resistance. I'm
oh
in love with this ship. I want it so bad. Please give me a medium base. Barring that, I have a second visual aid. The Star Speeder from Star Tours, iconic. Purely. The best piece of Star Wars media ever made is the first Star Tours film, bar none, easily for me. That's my pinnacle of Star
Next
Wars.
to the holiday special, of course.
No, I mean, next to like all the movies, fuck those things. I don't know if I can swear. Sorry.
No, you can. You're
Yeah,
good.
But that movie and that like short 5-minute video to me is still the pinnacle of Star Wars.
that's
And
awesome.
will always be that. So either one of those, that'd be great.
I was gonna Resistance could use like a good like coordinating support ship. I think
Yeah,
that is kind of one thing that they are missing as a faction.
I agree. They could also use a medium base. The one thing they're
Yeah, that
missing as
too.
a faction
Yep.
that would fill both roles great. I mean, the transport is just like it. It's so bad at everything it does. Like, it's not a good support ship. It's not a good crew carrier. It's not a good offensive ship. Kova is kind of functional, but she's also like you have to fly her really weird in order to get the most value out of her.
Yeah.
It's just it needs a true support ship or one
Yes.
that's viable right now. And it just doesn't have that, which is
Yeah.
for me, who plays most of the Resistance, I am sad about that. It doesn't have the lambda. You know what I mean? I want my own
Yeah.
lambda.
Yes. I mean, because yeah, I think every other faction has something like it.
I think CI. Well, what does CIS have supporty? HMP can be. They could use the Sheathipede.
Let's say they
The
could. The
T85 is a
Gauntlet,
stupid
kind.
idea. Anyone who says the T85 is not creative, I'm sorry, Manny. I hate to tell you, but
Manny in our Twitch chat right now saying, "Give
the
me the
T85 is
T85,
not
you
a ship we
coward."
need in the game. We don't need another X-wing. It would be like we
The
don't
most
need another
boring man
X-wing.
alive playing is only the same 5-ship list,
Oh boy, I get to
saying,
play
"I
a
want
new
more
X-wing.
X-wings."
It's a slightly
I mean,
different
it's the name of
X-wing.
the
That's
game,
pretty cool.
baby. It's the name of the game. It's called
No, I
X-wing.
get it. I'm fine. Two X-wings is
It's not called
plenty.
Star
Three is a
Wars
crowd.
YT 1300.
Two is a
The
party.
HMP
Yeah,
gunship. I'd say that you could
yeah.
also use
That kind of supporty.
yeah, I'd say they're kind of
Infiltrator
sporty. You could
can be.
use I was gonna say the Gauntlet too.
Does the yeah? I always forget the CIS has a gauntlet. To
Yeah.
be honest, I guess Previsl is actually one of the better gauntlet pilots. Um,
Yeah.
just talking about ships that kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
I mean, you could give it a 4 dice attack,
Yeah,
which is
Previsl is
pretty
good at
good.
that.
Should I do mine?
Yeah.
What
What do
all I
you
Absolutely.
want,
want
Nick?
for X-wing miss? All right. AMG clause. This is technically two things, but it could be in one box. I know most of you all are gonna say, "Oh, Nick's about to say, give me the E-wing and standard." I'm not gonna say that. Okay, I'm not saying that.
Mm.
And Lambda was mentioned by Andrew, so I'm also not gonna say that. Give me the Star Viper back and scum.
Flappy wing,
First of
flappy
all,
wing, flappy wing, flappy wing.
give me the Star Viper
Yeah,
and give me the Lancer class patrol craft back in scum as well. For the love of
Yeah.
God, I want the fear of God put in that faction again. Let's
if
go.
we're doing the Star Viper, you got to give it posable wings. It's got to have flappy wings where they can
Oh,
kind of like
wouldn't
go
that be
back.
amazing?
Like the B wing to me is still the pinnacle. Like the 2.0 B wing is still like the pinnacle of like, oh my god, this miniature does everything. The
Yeah.
cockpit spins, the arm is closed, it spins on the back. Like it's
Yeah.
incredibly like well articulated. Do
Mhm.
that with the Star Viper now. Let me close and open the Star Viper wings. Let me tilt it. Like please, please
That'd be
AMG.
cool. Yeah, you'd give it you'd
That, oh my
make it
gosh,
look
just
like the
that
Star Viper.
faction. It could
It'd be
certainly benefit from some
rad.
new faces, man. Those
Also,
Yeah.
pilots, fun. It's come on, just like let's do it.
how many people would love to fly Guri again?
Oh yeah.
Like that
Seriously,
would
it's like
yeah,
everybody wants this, right?
everybody
But you
Obi-Wan,
got
wants
the
Guri.
Dash
show,
back.
everybody wanted
Mhm.
Obi-Wan. Everybody
You got
wanted Kenobi. And they
you
gave it
got
to us
Dash
because they knew
back.
everybody wanted it.
You know,
Yeah.
we got Dash
Give
back.
us the Star Viper.
We should get Guri back. Yeah, Shadows of the Empire. Let's bring it back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's hip now.
Yeah.
And honestly, if right now the idea behind the production process is we can't have it be standard unless it's in a black box, I think they should rethink that and say we're going to do the hyperspace format approach and insert things and graduate them into standard. And
I
so
actually
that
think
way you can sell off some of your stockier conversion kits that you've decided to call a loss all of a sudden when I don't think you need to.
the thing
Like,
I think I've always wanted them to do is slowly bring back ships via like if they're going to do standard loadouts, like introduce like a or like a Star Fortress standard loadout, like just one. You know what I mean? Like bring it back slowly that way. Of like here's just one or two options for these extended ships right now. Like we may not be able to reprint them all, but here's like a new standard loadout pack or something that includes just like a new lambda. Like here's a lambda Captain
Yeah,
KE with a slightly different ability that's a little bit better for lambda. Maybe like a new ship ability that lets it turn around better. And like here's a slightly different Guri that puts her on the power curve of similar I5s at 2.5, that kind of stuff, right? Like slowly working those older ships.
I am also kind of hoping that they don't go too overboard on like the completely different pilot abilities with the standard cards, because it's already going to get like way too confusing when there's just
yeah.
Yeah,
three
And
different versions of Evader.
the counter
yeah,
argument to graduating things is like, oh, well, it's kind of pay to win. It's like, but look, if the alternative is that it will never be reprinted because the only way to play it is if
yeah.
it's reprinted, then graduate it because it's like
I mean, this
people
year we've
have their
gotten
collections. It will get
we've,
more
we've
people to
been
play, I think.
so we've been so content dry this year, right? Of
Hmm.
like the only thing we've had is two re-releases. Like cash grabby or not, if you got to keep the game alive, being cash grabby, if like here's a card pack, like
Hmm.
just give us something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think the community's. I mean, the community's still there. Obviously,
yeah,
people are still
absolutely.
playing the game. People are still enjoying the game. We just pump a little bit of life into it. Give us some, a little more, some
Dude,
little snack.
the Star Viper and Lambda shuttle introductions alone would be enough to bring more people back into the game
Oh, the
because those are
lambda
some
for
of the
sure.
kids'
Yes, I
favorites.
mean, right, those are, I mean, just iconic ships. Yeah.
I'll give them this. One of the at least one of the two ships they brought back this year is easily one of the more iconic ships that wasn't in standard. Or easily the most iconic ship that wasn't in standard was the TIE bomber.
Yep.
I think the Lambda was number two. I always was kind of hoping to do like a squad pack of like a Lambda and two bombers,
That
but
would be
That
cool.
that would have been
It's
neat.
like
that's
the
what I
Yeah.
was hoping.
escort
But
to the Tantive 4.
yeah, oh yeah, it'd be kind of
Because
neat.
there's like, oh,
But
there's bombers in that escort in Rogue One. That's interesting.
yeah,
Always thought that
but
was interesting.
yeah, but yeah, Lambda back would be great. I also think if you bring the Lambda back, I think give it a Rebel Chewie pilot. Like throw in some weird stuff, do some mixed factions. I think that's
Rebel
gonna.
Obi-Wan crew. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be into that.
wasn't there a
Yeah.
1.0 Obi-Wan crew? Am I mistaken? Maybe
I
I'm
don't
wrong.
know. I didn't play as much of that.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm making that up.
Yeah,
I
I'm not sure either.
I like where our heads are at with this though. I think even I think these are honestly pretty reasonable, and just the idea of it gets me excited. Like I mean, one can dream, but it would be great if they're gonna shelve production plans for a while. I do this instead. I would be super down for that.
Alternatively, if you can't do production plans for now, but you want to do it later, which we're making up scenarios in our head now. But if that's the thing that's going to happen, maybe release some printable cards, the same way you did with Armada. You know what I mean? Give it a little bit of something to chew on for a
Yeah,
while.
just for like the community at least. I think
Yeah,
that's kind
it
of
goes a
cool.
long
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It goes a long way to building community and also showing your customers and fans that you still do appreciate their support and you want them to
Hmm.
keep playing
That
the game.
you haven't forgotten
Yeah,
about them. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So the last discussion I want to have before we call it a wrap on this year and our eighth episode
Yeah.
is Pim, I made sure to make a point of our conversation at the end of our last stream when you joined me for commentary about the whole thing with the 16 player rule with qualifying for a world's invite for a store champ. We've heard a lot of discussion about this, a lot of takes, and a lot of people, frankly, upset and discouraged, depending on their situation with this being a factor these days. So for those of you guys that maybe aren't aware, don't remember, or just need a reminder for me to mansplain to you really quick. AMG, when the store champ kits first came out, kind of casually mentioned, "Hey, yeah, like in 16 plus players, you can award the world's invite." There wasn't any mention about validate like verifying or what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, validating the number
To
of
be fair,
players.
the insert in the store kit, just to be perfectly clear, does say for 16 to 32 players.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Like the instructions in the kit do like it is explicitly clear in that.
right.
It doesn't
Yeah,
say anything about validation,
exactly.
but it
And
does
that's
say like
context that
yeah,
matters
yeah.
in this grand
Just
discussion.
as we talk about it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. And I appreciate you
Yes.
mentioning that. And so, it was mentioned, but it wasn't. It was something that I think people with either prior experience with Fantasy Flight games or whatever thought, hey, that's just kind of those are words on a paper. Like it's not going to be that was the word enforced, and it's not going to be
I think I
enforceable.
kind of want to throw Tommy Adams under the bus on this one because I not that I dislike Tommy because I like Tommy a lot. Um, But I remember early on, as the store kits were coming out, he posted in like the former Fly Better Facebook group. Now I think it's just the X Wing Miniatures group or whatever. Um, Upside Down Cat.
Upside down
Um,
cat.
but he posted like he emailed them asking about like, hey, our upcoming tournament only has 13. Can we still run it? Whatever, or 14, something like that. And they're like, okay, sure. Um, they made the exception, and I think that's why everyone started to become more lax on the 16-person rule. I think there was one instance
Yeah.
of him asking and getting an exception, and I think people took that the wrong way. Of maybe instead of being like, "Oh, we should ask," they were just kind of like, "Oh, we could
Yeah.
just do it, and they'll be fine." And then it
Yeah.
wasn't fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the new number 13.
And the idea of getting a world's invite is, you're honored to play with the best players in X-Wing. That's at least the kind of the intent or the weight behind it is like you played well, congratulations. Here's your ticket to Worlds, where you're going to play the hardest competition you've ever played in this game against the best players who also had to win to get there as well.
Yeah.
And so I go back and forth on this one as well. I'm curious. I mean, Pim, I'll honestly defer to you first
Sure.
on how you feel about, here's a scenario. There are you're playing at a small game store in Ohio and you have 9 people show up.
Mhm.
Should that tournament award a world's invite based on the initial number and final number being 9 people?
So I think what it comes down to for me personally, this is my own personal opinion. No, like I don't have any, there's no statistics, nothing like involved in this. This is just personal opinion on this for me. Um, but my thought process with these kits is you made X number of kits, so you know you're giving out X number of invites. You sold them to the stores. At that point, and I know this, some people disagree with this because you do want some level. I think it makes sense if you're going to play for Worlds, you want some level of barrier, not barrier, that's the wrong term, some level of competition in order to
Yeah.
justify being there, right? Some level of like
Yeah.
you had to compete. It wasn't like you won one game. Here's your invite.
Or
Because there's arguments of fairness across the board too. Of like, I went to a 32 person one. Should that person who won get like? Is it fair to them that someone won for an 8-person one? And ultimately, for me personally, my opinion on it is just any number you set is arbitrary. If only 9 people show up to the store because that's all the community is, I
Mhm.
think it's just, I think it's more damaging to the community to say, sorry, you don't deserve the invite, than to
mhm.
say, here's an invite. Start, sorry, your community wasn't as tough to get through, quote unquote, right? Which could be mistaken, right? Because the 9 people there could be all great. It could be like the 9 best players in the middle in the Midwest, or the whatever. Like, I think for me, it's just one of those things of I've always been the more the merrier on this kind of stuff, like participation prizes. Like when I run events, it's always participation prizes what I kind of front load. Um, it, 'Cause for me, it's always like I always think back to my first couple tournaments. Right, my first tournament in person, I had a friend there, so I at least had someone to talk to that I could between rounds and stuff. And then my first large event, I didn't have a great time because it wasn't like there's a lot of mitigating factors to it. Um, but I just remember, like, at least I walked away with cool participation prizes. And I think that's the one thing that, like, it's really important to kind of remember is in order to grow a community, you need to have them excited about the game and excited to come play the game. And I think I like the idea of having a world's invite in the store champs. I know people have said it's not a good idea. It's not going to, it's been a mess this year, which I think it has been, but I don't believe that's because it has an invite in the store champ level. I think the mess has been
Yeah.
communication issues.
Yes, I agree.
Stuff that wasn't necessarily clear at the start, and then the way they kind of rolled it out later, I think it rubs some people the wrong way.
Yes.
But the moral of the story for me is I think any number is arbitrary. Yeah, if you say there's no limit, people are going to game it, right? Someone's going to figure out how to buy one as a store and just be like, "Here's my invite. I want it." Oh yeah, my 4 friends showed up to my backyard and we played 2 games and I won, or we played round robin and I won, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, there'll be people who game it, but it's the same feelings I have as like to welfare. Like, sure, someone's gonna game it, but like, isn't it better to help people across the board and
Yeah.
say like, whatever, if one person game, fine. If 10%, if 15%, if 20%, like, what's the percentage to where now you're saying, okay, now we need to put like whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
better to. it's just for me, anyways. From a community standpoint, I think it just makes sense to say, here's the kit, run the kit, give the invite out. Don't worry about like hitting a threshold because I know there's like because you get to the point too nowadays where and then this happens. This I've seen this happen of like if you don't have 16 people sign up to an event the week or two before, right? Let's say you've got nine. You've got nine people signed up for your event, and you're trying to convince people to like drive the extra hour or some odd to get to you. Maybe 2 hours in your certain people's cases. I've driven like 2.5 for tournaments,
We drove
and it's one
5
of
for
those
Miniature
things.
Market.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those things though. If you're like,
yeah, that's what we did.
you're much more willing to go though if you know you're gonna be able to compete for that invite, as opposed to
I
if you're like, if it's the day.
Yes, that is a great point that we will complain about, Andrew and I.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I will say that one, I do think that this it came down to communication, like you said, like getting it out, that allowing that, okay, it was just a suggestion before, and then in the middle of the tournament season being like, oh, by the way, no, that's a hard limit. So people who already have won and thought they had their world's invite now no longer do,
that was the
was a
biggest slap to me of like,
big
Yeah, like,
shock and the worst way to handle it, I felt.
yeah. I
Um,
think at that point you needed to just be like,
yeah,
we're going to accept those, but no
yeah.
more. Because I think that's
Uh,
the biggest one where you're like that. You're really burning the community in certain cases there.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, oh man, what an awful feeling for for anyone like that all of a sudden realized that it wasn't valid.
And Andrew
Um,
Block was one of those people. Andrew Block had a invite from an eight
Doug was
person, and he
too,
was
Doug
then
Howe.
told like,
Yeah.
no,
mhm.
you don't actually.
Well, he's
um,
certainly set now.
Oh yeah, he's
yeah.
got it now for sure.
But either then, yeah, too, like I think like they should, you print enough that you expect, that you'll be able to handle everyone showing up to the world's tournament, and it should
Yeah.
just be good out of the box, so that way there's just no confusion, it's easy. And like,
Yep.
sure, sometimes a store is going to have four people, and or maybe two people show up, and one of them's going to get an invite, but
Yeah.
they also still then have to compete in worlds. And if they're one of the greatest people in the world, players in the world, then they deserve to be there too, even
Yeah.
if they won it in a two-person store championship. And then third, the 16 players right now is creating this weird waiting game that has frustrated me the most personally, is where you'll talk to six people and they'll say, I'll sign up when there's 16 people. And you
Yeah.
go, okay, if you all signed up, there would be like 18 to 20 people. So everyone is sitting around their computers
Yeah,
waiting for the
Yeah.
16th person to
yeah.
sign on. And if they all
Uh,
had just done it, it would happen.
Yep, I
It's a
will. I
I
will
have
self-fulfilling
call.
prophecy.
I will call this people out. I'm looking right into the camera. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I
Seriously,
have
you
signed
really
up for friends
pissed me off.
events. I have signed up for friends events like months in advance to be
Yeah.
like, here's someone going. Like there's gonna be 16 just to drop, before they run an event. As soon as they get to like 16, they just remove me from it because it's like,
Mhm.
okay, we've advertised enough, right? It's just advertising. You got to
Right.
pretend you're going, so
Yeah,
people sign up,
the
which is
self-fulfilling
terrible.
prophecy of like
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
Andrew and
negative
I.
feedback loop. It's a negative feedback loop. It's what it is. It's like, okay, I'll sign up when there's enough people. We're not close enough. We're
Yeah,
not signing up. We're not close
yeah.
enough. We're
with
not signing up.
Dragonfall that
Everyone's doing
happened.
that.
We had this huge event that Andrew and I took all our gear to, and it was a great and very fun event. We had a
Super
great time.
fun.
But how
Yeah.
weird was it that we had all this space and we had the people willing to come and play to get enough people for World's Invite, and instead it
Yeah,
was this shell of what it should have been, and it's surrounded by this massive convention of
yeah,
gamers, and it was for charity as well, and one of the
yeah.
cheaper conventions that you can get in a play at too, and it was 2
Yeah, it
days.
was
You
a
had 2
wonderful,
chances
wonderful
to get Worlds
space.
Invite.
Yeah.
It was, and it
Yeah,
was
that
just
was
that was frustrating because it's like, what a missed opportunity. Like, we're
Oh
here,
yeah,
everybody's having fun still, which was, I mean, ultimately, the people that made it, they deserve to have the best time,
Mhm.
yeah. Are
and
they
they
any
did
less
have a good
valid
time.
than people who like went to a 16-person one?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
But
is it
then,
less valid for them?
right. And I would say, for areas that do have the smaller community, and this also could be because there could be like a rural store, or just they have a smaller population size in
That's the big one.
general,
Yeah.
that they should have just as much of a chance to compete at Worlds and be represented at
Yeah,
Worlds than, anyone else.
Yeah, I do want to
absolutely.
throw in that we covered this several episodes ago. The whole wrench in this thing that maybe my conspiracy is what caused AMG to do this is that AMG threw Asmodee under the bus and claimed that too many kits were sent out. I don't know what that means. It just addresses. It doesn't argue with your point, Pim, but I just want it kind of adds a bit of a footnote to it. I feel
Yeah.
like where it's like, How does this circle evolve? How does
My
it revolve?
Yeah, I
my
have a
gut.
theory on this too.
You go for it, Koopa. Go for it.
Oh,
I think we
I
have the same
was
idea.
yeah, I think we might too. That they overprinted just the amount of store kits and invites, expecting people to not be able to like come to World, so that they would still have a full tournament there. So they
I was
always have
actually thinking that
more.
like I was actually thinking it was the event. I was thinking that maybe Adepticon just said no, you don't have the table space this year. They just said like, oh,
Possibly that.
we're only giving you this much. We gave you we gave you I'm gonna say 300 tables
Oh,
last year, and maybe this year they're like
um,
we're only giving you 150.
yeah, I mean that too, or AMG also. Like for my work, I do a lot with event planning.
Mhm.
Is that Adepticon is also like, okay, this is how much a table space costs,
Yeah,
and they take the budget to Asmodee, and they're just like, no, this is what our
yeah.
events budget's going to be for the year. Like, you don't have, we're not going to be able to afford that. You have to cut something.
I know AMG is also they and this is getting maybe too conspiracy theory, but they did just announce recently that they're doing a more structured um, Crisis Protocol event style, right? A more structured tournament style and full like worlds esque thing for that. So then conspiracy theory is they need more tables for that now. Because last year, like Crisis Protocol was like what, like a dozen tables there? It wasn't many.
And yeah, they also, I mean, they added a whole new game to their line with,
Yeah,
so
Shatterpoint.
we'll probably have the
Shatterpoint,
first
yeah.
Shatterpoint Worlds this year as well. So that's
Yeah,
probably going to eat into their allotment.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that could just be
it's
it. It's just they need more
Mhm.
space, and then it's like, oh, we printed more because we thought we had the space, and then we didn't, and then now we're
yeah,
scrambling. I do wonder what they expect, like what their projection is in terms of percentage of players who have an invite who will go, right?
yeah. I
Because
think it
like
was a bad idea to even mention that they gave out too many kits. I think
that's bad.
Yeah.
I
just
hadn't
not
heard that,
said
which is
anything.
surprising. I missed that. I don't if that was in an article or a stream. I just maybe missed it, but
It's strange considering we're just starving for an update on a card pack or something, and they're more than willing to create a PR hysteria around something that might not even be a
well,
big
Yeah,
that's
deal.
and this goes back to the communication too, because I don't think they did
yeah.
really a
Oh
great
yeah.
job of explaining themselves as to like why. Like, if they had a good enough reason, that I think they could come out and say, hey, this is why it has to be 16. Sorry.
Yeah,
And that's where they've struggled the most since getting X-wing, right? Is just communication. At
That's
least in terms
honestly
of
been it.
what we think. I mean, there's you can disagree with 2.5 and dislike the changes, whatever, from a game design point, but I think it's not a stretch to say that they were communicated poorly, and I think people within the company would probably agree with that sentiment of like, hey, the communication from the get go has not been great on us, so
hmm
I mean, our
it's just
interview
one of
with
those
Atomic
things.
Mass Games, forgot to even mention that earlier when we were reflecting. We got to interview AMG, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah, it
they
became a
owned up
corporate
to.
shield.
I mean, they did specifically point out one thing, but they did mention that they have made mistakes and are going to make mistakes, and that
Yeah, I mean they're
they
people.
asked for
I'm not
patience from
expecting them to
their
be
people.
perfect.
Yeah, right.
It's
No,
just one
And
of those
everyone
things that
understands,
yeah,
they're a small team. They're taking over.
some people think they're conniving and scheming,
Oh,
every
I
waking moment of the day, which is
yeah.
hilarious to me. I don't think they
I mean, on it,
are
I
doing
would
that.
yeah, don't attribute to malice
Yeah,
to what you can attribute to just being overworked with too many projects.
yeah,
Yeah.
overworked
yeah.
for sure. But yeah,
Malice or just even like not lack of experience, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm most of these people are game devs that are now talking publicly about the game and everything. They probably don't really have communications experience,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
training
true.
like that. Like stuff
yeah.
they say on stream is more off the cuff,
Ideally,
and
they
then
have someone
maybe
else handle that.
yeah, usually that's how that works. But when you're a small studio, they and it's that thing where like they're a lot more personal and approachable of a studio, which I think is because I know more AMG developers than I ever did. Not like personally, but I like know their names, right? I know
hmm
more names of AMG developers than I did FFG developers. Because I think
Yeah,
they're more present and more, at least on streams and such, right? Like FFG had people at events and things, but I think that just goes to like that's the double edged sword of having a studio like that. Of it's great in some regards because your players know you and or know of you and they can go out to you in events. Maybe they're not as afraid or they're more sociable. It's more fun interaction. But the negative side is then sometimes people say something they shouldn't have said on stream and it creates a minor controversy and then you got to deal with that.
Yep.
yeah.
But
Yeah, unfortunately, when you are starved for content, everything you do is under a microscope.
and
Over
that's
and
the
over and
biggest thing that
over.
I
So
think I've been disappointed with so far this year is that the content we've gotten has been minimal, unfortunately. But they teased more content than we've seen at Adepticon last year, and it's one of those things of like even one even like one of their openings, one stream just saying like, here's an update on the X-wing stuff. It could be 10 minutes long, or it could be five
Honestly,
minutes long. Of
just an
like,
update. Yeah.
Battle of Endor still coming. We know we showed you some stuff. It's still coming soon. Or like we talked about the Alpha class being reprinted. That's also coming soon.
Hmm.
We're soon is not it's not that soon. We're probably still talking 2024. But
Right.
just some kind of
Yeah.
like, some kind of acknowledgement that it's not canceled would be nice.
Yeah. Just
Uh,
I honestly, that's it. Just acknowledgement to say, hey,
yeah.
this we got some stuff coming up.
I mean, this is the first year. I was talking to a friend about this too, and both of us are still love the game, but it's the first year in a long time where neither one of us has bought new X-wing stuff because there hasn't been stuff for us to buy. I'm not. I have a 2400. I wasn't rushing out to get another one. I don't
Yeah.
collect Imperials, so I wasn't going to get the bomber pack, and the starter packs were both. I had those shifts. I don't necessarily need another X-wing and two A-wings and a Y-wing. So and he's a scum main, so he's kind of like the same thing. Of like I didn't need to buy any of this. 2400 maybe when it goes on sale, but he's like the two cards included weren't lighting things on fire, so he didn't feel like, but I'll save my money
Yeah.
for something else. But it's not a lack of want, right? Like I do want to spend money on the game. I do want I still want to play the game. I want new content. I want to keep trying things and experimenting, seeing the meta change, have fun with it. Like I said, there's plenty of ships I can ramble on that are serious and not complete joke suggestions of things I want, but
yeah,
pilots and ships and stuff you could do. And it's just one of those things of even something because when you guys did a great interview talking about they talked about their development cycle a little bit, and they did say it's 18 to 24 months, right? It's a long development cycle, which is understandable. But even just a reminder of we know we haven't talked about it in a while, but this is still coming. We're working on stuff would just go a long way right now for the
Yeah.
community.
absolutely. And I think that we
Yeah.
can all agree to wrap this up that we can all agree that all of that the three of us want for AMG Claus to give us is something. Is an update.
Yeah, just
Something to look
anything.
forward to.
And again, it can be as substantial as we hear your concerns. We're still working on the game. Or, if you really wanted to be great, maybe a small points patch like, hey, Han's losing a couple loadout or something like that. Rax losing Death Troopers are going up a couple points or something, right? That kind of
Or
stuff.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that would be
We're getting rid of
Our
so
5%
many
are
four
legal.
point T70s because that's probably a bad idea in hindsight. But anyways, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love the
Yeah.
game. I
Force
want
Manny
to
to
keep
play
playing the
something
game.
else. Oh my gosh, that would be wild. I don't know
I
what he might. I don't know what he'd do.
4T70s is kind of fun.
Five, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
5T70s is great. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, he plays five as well. So I know
Yeah.
you've been dabbling with that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
that's been
yeah.
mine.
So I want to be mindful of our time, guys. I think
yeah,
that
Yeah.
was a good stopping point in terms of all coming together there and addressing that we would just love to hear some news. So let's fingers crossed and let's hope that under
yeah.
the tree or the menorah or whatever you celebrate or honor this holiday season that we get something like that.
Yeah. Give me something to buy next year. I'll buy it. I swear. Just give me something good. I'll buy it.
Yeah. LVO is coming up January 18th to the 21st. Just a reminder in terms of the outstanding events before the official tournament season ends, and we look
Yeah.
to Worlds. That is the last Worlds Open qualifier that Andrew and I will be at. That Cuba and I
We'll
will
be
be at.
there.
So if you
I
see
think
So
it's the
say
if
last
hi.
you're
World's Open qualifier.
It
I
is,
think
yeah,
so too, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
And
bummed STO didn't get the nod. I know they tried. It was just they were like it's too late to verify whatever. But
And then, of course, there will be a bunch of last minute store champs. Even if you can't make Worlds or you already have an invite, I would still go if you can. You can still try a different list. You'll still have fun, and it's important that you go, especially at the stores that are always teetering around a dozen to 16
yeah.
plus
Go help
people.
your
These
friends.
more
Help your friends.
help
yeah.
Give them a
help out.
chance.
Be there if you
Yeah.
can. Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. This was a great episode 8 to wrap up the year. Pim, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It
Appreciate
was a
it.
great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, gladly. I'll whatever you guys want.
Thanks to everybody for listening to this episode, both popping in live, our subscribers on Twitch here today while we recorded this, and to the listeners at home. When you do listen to this when it comes out, thank you for being a listener. I also just lastly want to thank Strata Strike on Etsy for partnering with us. It is the holiday season, and now is the time to snag some gaming components. You can go to their Etsy page and you can buy so many different gaming components, including components for X Wing like amazing wood template trays, precision cut, objective tokens, and more. You can use discount code 312 Squadron. That's a capital S and all lowercase and the rest of Squadron, all one word, for 15% off your purchase. And it doesn't even have to be X Wing. Anything on their Etsy store, you will get
Strata
that
Strike is
discount.
great people. Great people. Strata
Yes.
Strike.
Yeah.
Very
Mark
cool guy.
Ewell. Shout out to Mark. He's a really, really great guy. Strata Strike, where precision meets gaming. I love that tagline as well. Also, just shameless plugs. Be sure to follow us on Twitch where you can catch us live, including our in-person X-Wing events. We have Spellbound coming up on the 10th that you will have seen that at this point when this comes out. You'll catch replayed and edited content on YouTube. You can like us on Facebook and you can jump into the convo directly in our Discord. Links all in the description of the podcast episode. Thank you all for a tremendous year. Very proud of the progress we've made and what we've been able to do. Look forward to doing even more in the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy holidays. And my name is Nick, signing out here. You guys go ahead.
Yep. I'm Andrew, and have a happy holidays and a wonderful new year.
Hey, I'm also Andrew, and have a great holiday. If you're still looking for gifts, like Nick said, go to Strata Strike. Great people. Go to Etsy, buy from Etsy, buy from creators.
Yes.
And thanks for having me on the what am I on? This is Gypsy Gambit Squad, Utah Solid Squad. No, 312. 312. Yeah, yeah. 31-2. Thanks for having me on the 31-2 podcast.
Anytime.
Ugh, what a way to end it. Cringing inside. Happy holidays, guys.